Did it work? Are we live? Let's see. How's it going, guys? Just a quick stream. Wanted to update about the retreat, which so far is going pretty awesome. We hiked up to Incan ruins today in my neighborhood, which is a crazy thing to be able to say. It's always deserted, and it's just this massive, sprawling complex. Nobody knows what it was for. The history is mysterious. There's always eagles flying around up there. How's it going, Northern Light? Yeah, pretty amazing. And then right up the road from there, there are petroglyphs that are drawn in blood that are 7,000 years old of alpacas. And there's an eagle eyrie nearby. We climbed up into that, drank some San Pedro the other day. So pretty awesome. But basically, I just wanted to let you guys know we have, I guess, 2 rooms, which means up to 4 people if you're a couple, or single people. Or if you're really close to your buddy, then I guess you can share a bed. But yeah, we have 2 rooms open from now until September 15th. And that is in the Sacred Valley, where we're eating a lot of kashuru, which is a Andean superfood. It's a cyanobacteria colony, and they contain 3 times as much protein as meat, red meat. It's 3 types, which are highly digestible: B12, B vitamins, antioxidants, calcium, high in iron, but also cytotoxins, which inhibit cellular division in tumors, basically stop them in their tracks. So that's a pretty awesome thing to fortify yourself with. And then we're going to hikes amongst the ruins like Sacsayhuaman and Ollantaytambo, lots of San Pedro, ayahuasca as well. And tonight we're actually having bufo in a couple hours, so that's why I don't have a lot of time tonight. So yeah, we have a little bit of space available there. And then in November, we are going to Manu. And I'm super excited to go back to the jungle. It's going to be November 11th through December. And there are, I think, 3 spots open for that still. So if you're interested in joining us, send me an email, and you can schedule a screening call, because we screen everyone to make sure that you're a good fit, for one thing. We keep our groups very small. A lot of them are repeat guests, which is great for us because then I know who I'm dealing with. And yeah, that's really nice. It's also really nice that people want to come back. But yeah, that really helps me to create the kind of environment that we want at these events. So, and then, you know, if I really feel like you're not a good fit, then we could maybe do a private session. But yeah, so Manu, in case you're not familiar, is one of the most pristine rainforest areas left on Earth. The animals, the wildlife are pretty much intact. You know, gosh, I can't find the word I'm looking for. Quite a long hike. I'm pretty tired from that. Anyways, the environment is intact. You know, so there are giant anacondas. Jaguar sightings are pretty common. 30-something species of monkeys, macaw, tapir, you know, all of the jungle creatures. And we're going to take a 3 to 5 day boat trek into the deep jungle with indigenous guides, licensed indigenous guides by boat, as part of the event. So that's going to be super awesome. I've only seen 1 anaconda in the wild so far, and it was a pretty small one. And the anaconda's kind of been my spirit animal since I was a child. You know, I've been aware of it as my spirit animal since I was a child. So seeing a big one would be a bucket list thing, and it's pretty likely on this trip. So November through December, we'll have some guest shamans from local tribes, definitely Ashaninka, possibly others when we get down there, and I can kind of vet people. We'll see about having some other guests, because I know there's a lot of different indigenous groups with a lot of different knowledge down there. The Ashaninka are actually considered like 3rd in knowledge of the medicinal plants of the jungle. Next to Shipibo are number 1, Shuar is number 2, which is the tradition I learned from, and the Ashaninka are number 3. So pretty exciting. Thought of going back to the jungle. It's been like a year and a half, 2 years, and I really feel like it's my home. I belong there. Like I grew there. Really feel comfortable, safe in the jungle. And I actually have pretty extensive knowledge of the medicinal plants of the jungle as well. So if you have some type of malady, pretty good chance that we can at least assist with it, if not outright cure it. Things like epilepsy I've seen cured with just simple plants. In fact, we had an individual that was having a seizure a day at 2 the day that he landed in Ecuador. And he didn't tell me this, but he had discontinued his medication, which is supposed to cause an increase in seizures. And as soon as he had 1 cup of the concoction that I made, he did not have another seizure the entire time he was with us, and not for another 9 months when he went back. Unfortunately, he broke one of the conditions of his healing, and it did come back when he did that. But until he did that, 9 months. And that's without continued support. He did not continue taking the plants, even though I advised him to, but he still didn't have any more seizures. So the power of these plants never ceases to amaze me. The capacity for enhancing intuition and other parapsychological type capacities of consciousness still surprises me. The way that it enhances our ability to create an intuitive feedback loop with the subconscious of individuals in order to assist them in shining light where they are unable or unwilling to shine it themselves, and the skill with which these plant medicines act. They are subtle is a weird word to use, but they are, I want a better word than subtle. At any rate, they, manage to stage things. There is a method. There's a plan. There's a strategy that happens on some intuitive level that is nearly impossible to explain. The way things emerge or are brought to the surface in a very strategic manner, and usually, and I really think that it just depends on whether your attitude, your respect, your motivation is in line. It's almost never more than people can handle. Negative experiences with ayahuasca are exceedingly rare considering how powerful the experience is. And it really paints a picture of benevolence and intelligence in this medicine that is magic, truly magic. I am continually, increasingly grateful for these things. I've had my own struggles over the last couple of months, various health problems, and San Pedro, for example, has restored mobility to one of my feet, the ankle. It wouldn't move. I couldn't send signals. It wouldn't do anything. And I can move it probably 75% now, and it was just a few doses. One in particular, large dose, did most of the work in a single day. So really an extraordinary blessing to have these things. And the more research that they do, the more efficacy is uncovered. For cardiovascular problems, kidney problems, skin problems, it's really not just a matter of psychological and emotional healing. These plants are loaded with alkaloids that have some sort of medical application. Really a tremendous blessing. And it makes us call a lot of things into question. And I'm not going to talk too much about that because the algo gets mad. But that's the facts, guys. Bovensana helped a bit. Colloidal gold hasn't yet, but I can only get 40 ppm in Australia. Yeah, I've heard about that. People can't get the higher ppm in Australia. I have no idea why that would be. Boban sauna is absolutely amazing for a lot of different purposes. It can give you a mild energy boost without any jitteriness. It's not like caffeine. It's more like it opens you up to the life force and allows you to process energy in a more clean way. You know, it's a very subtle but definitely noticeable energy. And people generally use the flowers and the leaves for that. And then the roots have far more alkaloids. And the plant actually contains harmala alkaloids, the same that are in ayahuasca, but in very low concentrations comparatively. But it does kind of provide a microdose for that. And harmalas, I think, help with emotional conditioning and intuition, being in touch with that. And then also the twigs, you know, are used for the branches are used to make teas to receive icaros and for lucid dreaming. It's a remarkable plant, but I think the most remarkable aspect of it is its ability to open the heart. I actually, right after I met my partner, and this is some of that serendipity that you just can't explain, she decided to go to a ceremony with me, with my teacher, and for some reason I just thought, well, you need 3 ceremonies in a row. And I saw him the next day, and he said, this Friday, Saturday, Sunday were, you know. And so we went, and the third night, he had a guest facilitator that had brewed a Boban sauna ayahuasca mixture. And he had dieted with it for like 6 weeks previous to this. And after drinking it, within a few hours, I experienced unconditional love for the first time in my life, I think. You know, maybe I'd had it for my dog before, but I had a very bad relationship with my mother and no father, really. And I didn't know that I had never experienced this. And the Boban sauna, I attribute to allowing me that experience. It also affected the character of the experience as well. I think there were a lot more pinks and whites and colors that you associate with love. So I actually work with Boban sauna quite a bit. In fact, speaking of my mother, our favorite flower when I was a child was the mimosa. I can't remember which mimosa. It's a Japanese invasive species that is all over Virginia where I lived. And the flower is identical to Boban sauna. So there was like this incredible poetic element to, you know, this plant healing this particular aspect of my being, and it had the same flower that my mother and I loved when I was little. So, yeah. So if you guys have any questions about plant medicine or any of the other subjects I talk about, pop them into the chat, because mostly I just came on to update about the retreat, unless you guys know we only have a few spots left. So if you're planning to come, it would be good to communicate with me sooner than later. And other than that, I have maybe 30 minutes or so to answer questions or chat a bit. So I have a bit of lag. I'll give you guys a second to pop any questions or comments in there. Bufo is quite a remarkable thing too. It's really baffling that a toad would have a compound in its venom that can do something like that, like, you know, what 5-MeO DMT does. And it's really the ineffable, you know, when people come back from these experiences, I always ask them, how was it? What happened? And the response that I get is always something along the lines of, that was the coolest experience of my entire life. And I will say, why is that? And then they will say, I can't, there's no explaining it. You know, it's an interesting thing. Nobody really seems to have much to say about it beyond, you know, that was the craziest thing that's ever happened to me. And there's nothing you can say about it. Sounds kind of familiar, right? And the little bit that you do get is white light or nothingness, absolute nothingness. Apparently at the highest doses, this doesn't happen to me, but they say that it can get to the point where there's not really even an observer in the experience. It's such nothingness. And I've always kind of interpreted this as the reducing valve in our nervous system. Like all psychedelics alter it. They change the bandwidth of receptivity. They expand our perception of the light, the bandwidth of light. We take in more light of different spectrums. It contains different types of information, and 5-MeO-DMT at sufficient doses completely turns the filter off, and you're immersed in the ultimate reality. A lot of people say that their anxiety completely goes away forever after the experience because you kind of know what the ultimate reality is. It's no longer a matter of faith, it's certainty. So you don't have any question about what happens when you die, for example. And then all of the small stuff in life is completely insignificant, which is a very convenient perspective to have integrated. Alrighty. Well, I'm not seeing any questions popping up in the chat, so I guess I'm going to go and set up the Maloka for the Bufo. I will be back in a couple of days. We're going to get back into it's the final book of Eliphas Levi's Transcendental, or the final chapter of the second book, the Book of Hermes. And it's going to be amazing, so don't miss that, and I'll see you guys soon. Please hit the like button, share, subscribe, consider becoming a patron because we're demonetized. Appreciate you guys. See you tomorrow.